Today we're checking out some crazy true animated stories. I have two really cool stories, and the first one is about a guy who went to a girls-only sleepover. Man, he's living the dream or not. I've only ever done guys-only sleepovers. If you want to do a sleepover right now with whoever you want, drop a like. I've heard that if you hit that like button, all your wishes come true.
My name is Marnus, and I'm
Hey,
22
Marnus.
years old.
What's
this
up?
is the story of how I ended up crashing a girl's sleepover night.
Wait, at age
and bore the burden of being the
22?
only guy there.
At age
My
22?
neighbor has two daughters. The elder one is Julia, who's 20 years old, and the younger one is Mia, a 5-year-old. We were in very good relations with them, and they often called me to babysit Mia on weekends.
Aww.
It happened again one Sunday. The parents told me that they'd be back home early in the morning the next day.
We'll be
and that
back
their
home
elder
early.
daughter, Julia, would be staying at a friend's, so Mia would be all alone in the house. I agreed to look after her.
You got a babysit.
The initial plan
of
was
course.
to leave Mia at
I used
my
to be a
house itself,
babysitter.
but the kid threw a tantrum about it, so I had no other option but to stay with Mia at her house. Everything was going well. Surprisingly, Mia was behaving well and even slept without causing any problems. I tucked her into bed in the upstairs room, and I dozed off on the couch in the living room.
Aw.
It was around half-past
Such a
midnight
good
that I heard the
babysitter.
sound of a door clicking. I was so deep in sleep that I didn't register it properly and ignored it. Then, again, I heard the same sound and some whispers this time. My eyes shot open in panic and immediately got up and turned on the lights.
Oh no!
The scene before me left me speechless. Julia and at least 10 more girls standing
What?
in front of me in their pajamas, looking
Wait,
like they were ready to have a
excuse
girls'
me?
sleepover. Little did I know that it was true. They really were there for a girls' sleepover night. I got to know about it when I asked Julia what was happening. She said that her strict parents refused to let her have a sleepover in the house, so she planned to sneak in her friends after they were gone, and that's why they
Genius.
were all here. I was in a
Genius.
dilemma of whether to let them go ahead with their plan or call their parents and tell them everything. But before I could think of a solution to the problem, they blasted the music and started dancing right in the middle of the living room. My jaw
That's what you
dropped
do
to the
during
floor. It
sleepovers,
looked
right?
like I couldn't stop them even if I wanted to. Fortunately, the walls were soundproof and the music couldn't reach Mia. I thought it would be better if I saved myself and got out of the house. I'd taken one
What
step
is this
when someone
dancing?
tapped me on my shoulder. I turned around and gaped at the familiar face. It was my ex-girlfriend, Riley.
Oh no!
I hadn't noticed her before because I was paying attention only to Julia. I had no idea that Riley was friends with Julia and we would meet like this. Riley and I had a very bad breakup. Someone had filled her ears with me cheating on her, which of course was not true.
Oh
But she
no!
refused to believe that and made me the culprit. We never talked after that, until that night at the sleepover party. Now, I was so desperate to get out of the darn place, I didn't want to have any kind of argument with Riley, so I simply turned around and started walking towards the door,
Nice.
when Julia blocked my way. She grabbed my arm and pulled me towards where her friends were dancing. She told me to stay and enjoy the night.
Come and
Apparently,
dance with
the idea
us.
of having a guy at a girl's sleepover was too exciting for them, and they couldn't pass up on the opportunity. And to be honest, I had a slight crush on Julia.
Oh.
She'd been my neighbor for a while now, and she was really friendly and helpful. Did I mention very pretty, too? I couldn't bring myself to say no to her. So we danced, enjoyed some karaoke,
Yeah.
had some delicious snacks and drinks.
Sleepover
All in all, we
dances.
enjoyed it a lot. The girls were very accepting of me. They didn't treat me like I was a guy invading their party. Instead, they did everything to make me feel included. But in all the
Respect.
merriment, I forgot that Riley was still there. She wasn't even that much involved in the party. She was just sitting in a corner using her phone. So the idea that she was there just slipped my mind. 2 hours had passed, and everyone was tired and sleepy. Julia asked me to come to her room. So I followed her, and once inside, one thing led to another.
Oh, boy.
And we made out. Well,
Oh.
at that moment, I had no idea we hadn't locked the door, and Riley was watching us.
Oh my God! Wait!
Consequences of this came back to bite us later. Next morning, everyone woke up early and cleaned the mess.
Someone was
then all
watching?
the girls left before Julia's parents came back. We were expecting everything to be normal at their arrival, but guess who came into the house with them? Riley. She showed them pictures from last night's sleepover party, and also a picture of me and Julia making out. She also said I was still in a relationship with her and was using Julia to cheat on her.
She's
She went on to call me
crazy.
irresponsible and various other bad things. Needless to say, everyone believed her just because she shed some fake tears. My neighbors lost their faith in me and said I was trying to trap their innocent daughter. Julia yelled at me too, saying that she was actually considering dating me, but now was just disgusted with me.
Wow! So this sleepover turned into his worst nightmare. Speaking of worst nightmares...
I have a problem, and it's
Oh, no.
mildly concerning.
Oh no.
Scratch that, it's very concerning.
What could it be?
Some backstory: when I was a senior in high school, I dated this one boy, Brendan.
Okay.
We went on for about 6 months before I broke it off. It
Okay.
wasn't because of anything bad, but it's simply because I lost
It's
feelings for
not
him.
concerning so
don't regret telling him how I feel, but I know for a fact that it hurt him. I was his first girlfriend, and that probably didn't feel good.
Aww.
He and I lost all contact after that, but anyways.
Aw,
My
that's
dad
so
is
sad.
divorced and has been ever since I was born. My mother was given the choice to give me to him or keep me. She chose her career path, and my dad was super stoked to have a kid. Of course, he had to
Aw,
tell
that's
me
so
all of this
sad.
because how else was I supposed to know? Whenever I tell people that my mother chose to give up her motherhood for her job, they always ask me if I'm mad at her for choosing herself over me. Honestly, I don't care whether or not she did or she didn't. I love my dad, and as much as being unwanted sucks, my mother did what she had to do to make a living. Besides, my dad has given me a life that I'm eternally grateful for. Well, recently my dad has been tossing around the idea of going back into the dating world.
Oh,
After
okay.
raising me for 20 years of his life, he believes that not only is he ready, but that I'm ready to have a motherish figure in my life. He asked me because it was only us for the longest time. Vacation, father-daughter days, bad days, great days, it was always him and I, no one else. Now that I'm older and am sort of independent, who am I to stop him from dating who he likes? Well, he met a woman on a dating site. Her name
Nice.
was Raylan, and from
Okay.
her profile, she seemed nice. She mentioned that she had a kid in college and that they were out of
Alright.
state for the next couple of months. She and he began talking with each other, starting simple with texts, then moving on to calls, then FaceTiming and all of that. I personally stayed away from that because I wanted to give him the opportunity to be himself as a person. not
Such a
father.
nice daughter.
I noticed a difference with him as the weeks went by. He was sprier and seemed genuinely happier. I would ask him how he and she were doing, and they were doing pretty well. He said that he wanted to meet her soon, and she said that too, apparently. I'm a slightly territorial person, especially with my house, so even though I remained mostly uninvolved with his dating life, we can't completely rule out the possibility that she's a murderer.
Of course.
So I told him to meet her
That's
at
how
an
it
agreed
happens,
upon
you know?
public spot, and he was like, yeah, sure. So skip past a couple of weeks, and he left the house to go meet her. I was happy that he might have found somebody that made him happy. He was gone for a few hours, which was cool. Later in the afternoon, he texted me and asked if it was okay if she could meet me. I didn't have anything to do, so I replied with, sure. 20 minutes later, he returned home with Raylan in the passenger seat. I wasn't
Alright.
jumping out of my skin in excitement, but I wasn't completely unenthusiastic either. When she stepped out of the car, she wasn't ugly. Dark brown hair, dark eyes, tallish. She
Beautiful.
wasn't bad looking, but that wasn't my first impression of her. When he came into the house with her, I was already waiting at the door. He introduced me to her and her to me. Everything seemed to have been going well until she actually looked at me. Her face went
Oh,
from
no.
bright and passive to scowling and aggressive.
Oh
She was
no.
pretty cold towards me and brushed me off. My dad was confused as to why she seemed so hostile towards me, but she just said she didn't want to talk about it.
Oh,
While this did
no.
affect how I saw her, my dad didn't say he hated her, so. The rest of the day, Raylan spent with my dad, but ignored me the entire time, only sending me dirty looks and consistent passive-aggressive comments about me. I didn't say anything. Not yet, at least. I figured maybe she just didn't like that my dad had a kid, even though I'm 20 years old and that my dad had it in his bio that he had me. My dad did ask her about her kid, but she just said that he, keyword, he, was going to come home for a few weeks for winter break. That was
Oh,
only a
boy.
week after that moment.
Oh no.
So jump to the next week.
I think
My dad and
I know
Raylan
what
were still
happened.
talking, and he did talk to me about her unfriendliness towards me. I told him not to worry about it, and that I would be able to handle it if push came to shove. Since my dad introduced me to her, she felt it would only be respectful that she introduced her son to him as well. Well, she did. And she brought him to our house. Her son was on winter break, and he came back from college for it. My dad asked what his name was, and she replied with, his name's Brendan. And I was like, okay, that's fine, there's a lot of people with that name. But the way she said it made it seem like I was supposed to know something. I ignored her subliminal messages because I thought she was just being rude like always.
No.
Well, I thought, until her son walked through the
No.
door.
It's her ex-boyfriend.
Raylan, my dad's now then girlfriend's son, was my ex-boyfriend Brendan, who
No.
would probably become my stepbrother if things worked out.
Oh no.
Things got a lot more complicated after that. Raylan loved my dad and hated me. Brendan was okay with my dad and hated me. I hated both of them and loved my dad. It was a train wreck of emotions and feelings between us four.
This
It's
is
been
so
2 years
crazy.
since I've seen and talked to Brendan, and I've no doubt he talked bad about me to his family. Mainly his mother. I don't think there's anything you could do. I don't think there's anything I can do. The only one who can cut Raylan and Brendan out is my dad. It's his choice in the end, but I didn't feel like having any familial relationships with the two.
You can
I go to
always make it
community
up,
college
right?
That isn't that far away from home. I have the choice to move into the dorm. If Raylan was going to visit a lot, I didn't want to be there, but I also didn't want to drift away from my dad either. But I also don't want to rip away one part of his joy and happiness. I'm so conflicted. I'm constantly trying to choose between putting my feelings or his above each other. She's not a bad or toxic person. I just broke her son's heart and she resents me for it, even though it wasn't my fault. If one of you could throw me a lifeline of some sort, it's desperately needed. Should I move into a dorm for the spring semester? Or should I stay with my dad and put up with Raylan's shenanigans?
Try to be friends. That's what you should be doing. What you should also be doing is checking out this video. It's a really cool video I made. It's awesome. Click it right now. It's another true story animation. Very true story. Or check out this video, which is like funny animations. You're definitely gonna laugh if you click on this one. 100%.